Hey RecLess fans, this is Tom here, and I'm proud to announce that this episode and all of Season 5 is brought to you by our friends at Civic Plus. For all of our Parks and Rec pros, do you ever feel like you're constantly putting out fires? Registrations, facility bookings, team calendars, it's non-stop juggling. And all that admin work? It's keeping you from what really matters, serving your community. That's where Civic Plus comes in. Their comprehensive Parks and Recreation Management solution streamlines everything, from online registration to facility scheduling and payments, all in one place. Parks and Recreation Management by Civic Plus automates the busy work that bogs you down so you can spend less time on paperwork and more time creating unforgettable programs for your residents. Civic Plus is the trusted partner of thousands of high-performing civic leaders, helping them balance better services with limited resources. With over 25 years of experience and a team of 900 experts, Civic Plus powers over 10,000 organizations and touches 340 million lives every day. If you're ready to trade burnout for impact, then visit civicplus.com. The best run local governments run on Civic Plus technology. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Season 5 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter and more knowledgeable about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, three career-long friends from across the country bringing you a surprise guest each episode. Listen in on a great conversation, maybe take some notes, and definitely enjoy a couple of laughs. This is RecLess.
What's up, Shane?
What's up, buddy?
You're back.
I'm
Let me
back.
make you the host.
That's right. Hostess with the mostest.
You should be good now.
Sweet. Now it's just a waiting game for Jason.
Jaybird.
Good old Jay Bird. Yo.
What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, dude?
Just getting ready to rock and roll. Do you guys have 10 minutes or so after to talk schedule? And
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I have a meeting at 2:15, so depending on time from there, we'll make it
You need,
work if we can.
you need me to write you a note?
an excuse like high school.
No, you're not my boss.
He is your teacher, though, right? He's in some
Yeah.
ways your
Dr. Mize. I'll write you a note if I need to.
How was he my teacher?
I saw Jay's eyebrows when I said that. Whew, that's quite the raise.
He's salty because of the game last night.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm learning from Shane.
It's going to be a tough one.
It could be what not to do.
That's true.
True.
All right,
I mean,
guys, you ready to
typically,
rock?
when we do our joint session, it's do this, not that, and people are taking notes.
I
about
do
what not to
wonder
do.
what they get out of those notes, and they go back and like, this was really confusing. One of them told me to.
Yeah.
Whiplash.
All right,
93
start.
today. Who would have
93.
thought it?
We're getting close. You ready?
Sure. Dr. Mize is in the building.
Welcome to RecLess, everyone, with Dr. Mize, Jay Tryon, the student, and your host
Yeah.
today, Tom Venniro. We would like to welcome you to episode 15 of season 5. It is our 93rd episode. We are closing in on 100. Will we make it is the question.
No, the wheels are coming off.
Based on the cold open today, I do not believe so, but we're going to give it a go. We are excited to have you all here as we share with you our little world here at Parks and Recreation through the lens of the three of us and a special guest today. We are with Silas Shore.
See that?
You got any
Is that one of
guesses
the-
based on the name?
Is it one of the Jersey Shores?
Could be.
I didn't even look at that until right now when you said that.
Could be. All right. Well, we got a good one. I just want to check in with both of you. Let me start by checking in with Jay. Jay, I'm sorry about the Bills' loss. I know that it's just football, but it was a night game, primetime game. So you probably lost a little bit of sleep just to watch whatever you call that third and fourth quarter, because
That's
that
why
was
he's
rough.
cranky. And we should apologize to the listener ahead of time. He's going to be a little
It was
cranky.
late.
It was late. That last quarter lasted forever.
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries and
Injuries,
a lot of
penalties.
different timeouts and penalties that just
But you want a chance to
prolong
win
the
it
game.
at the end, and y'all had it, right? I mean, from what I saw, you had a chance to win it in the end. That's
Yeah.
what you're always hoping for as a fan is.
Yeah.
Give us one more shot.
Big Josh Allen had a couple scares last night too, but he's a fighter. All right. Other than the game, how you guys doing today?
So good.
Can't complain.
Yeah, it's Christmas cookie season, guys.
Are those for us?
If you want to come down here, it'll be gone in a week. Those Danish cookies, man, those Scandinavian people know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, that'll replace the nerds for a week.
Yeah, about a week.
Let's get into it because we have a really exciting guest as always. And so, before we get to our guest, I want to get a little deeper with you both today. Start by saying we've got some exciting news, and I don't know if it's our exciting news, but I did get permission to share that exciting news from our editor and producer and all different titles that Hannah Mize is for us.
Wife,
Hannah Mize, yes, wife, right.
baby mama.
She, with the help of several other individuals, is going to be launching, I guess you might call it a spin-off of our podcast. And the podcast is going to be called This Parks and Rec Life. I believe a little bit of the idea came from the spouse partner episode that we did back in season maybe 2 or 3. I lose track now, where we had Melissa, Lindsay, Hannah, and Josh Keller on to talk a little bit about what it's life and the impact of being a partner or spouse of someone in this field. And so that's exciting news. I know that Hannah's excited. We talked a little bit over text the last couple of days. So this question is going to tie a little bit to that. And I just want to really pick your brains here. We talk about this a little bit. We talked about it on the spouse episode, but I don't know that we've really had a deeper conversation about it, but some self-reflection. We are spending so much time helping our communities. We are trying to build a team so that they can show up at their best selves for the communities that we serve. That said, we get pulled in a lot of different directions. We have to consider so much when it's, whether it's work or a meeting or an event that even we're not at, but we might be getting that text, hey, something's happening or whatever it is. There's always something going on, even if you're not present there, that in our positions, typically, you kind of know it's happening. And it really does. It takes a lot of your time. It takes a lot of our brain powers. And that can lead to some challenges for us, whether it's how we navigate the day or how we're showing up for our own families and our own support systems. So I want to know from the two of you, how do you take care of yourself so you're able to show up for your best way for everybody else? It's hard, right? So if these people are asking so much of you, there are times where I feel that I could snap at any moment. And now I don't, but because of the demand that comes with it, we have to figure out ways that we cope with that and that we're able to show up for our staff, our teams, our families, whoever it is, our friends, at the best way. So work and home. How is it that you take care of yourself to do that? And I will give you some time to think about that and tell you a little bit about my thoughts as I had going into that question. So for me, I think about it being about perspective. I look at perspective from, of course, my own view, but the other individuals that we have in our life, the team members, my wife, even my kids. How do we look at that and use that perspective to really manage the days? And so I like to think about disconnection. That helps me out. If I can disconnect, even though it's hard, I'm trying. I'm not trying to stay on top of every social media post that happens to be about something going on in our community. I believe that really can have a detrimental effect on me when I'm listening or tuning into everything the public has to say on Facebook or whatever it is, because we all know it's not always positive. It's also about intentionally scheduling those breaks during the day, whether that's at home or at work. Scheduling, for me, it's a big part of scheduling. So can I do my best? It's almost impossible to schedule your day out perfectly in this job. We know that. But how do I do that? And so just a great example today, protecting that time. One of my team members, before I was about to leave to record the podcast, they asked, hey, Tom, do you have 5 minutes? And how do you approach that? And my answer to them was, actually, I don't have that 5 minutes right now. And that's hard. I don't want to say that. Every time, every ounce of me says, tell them yes. You have to tell them yes. You have to be there for them right now. But I've gotten better about that over the years. And so protecting that time and being honest with people, both personally, professionally, and I've learned to protect that protect time with my family when that's possible. We know that that's not always the case. You can get pulled away here and there, but really living in the moment and thinking about why it is what we do. So again, just kind of elaborate on that. Maybe it's for me outside of the workday, enjoying those moments when I'm playing with the kids, the time that I do have with them and trying to be there present. It could be something simple, playing a game. My son's starting to get into all the old fashioned games. We've been playing pickup sticks. And if you know a 5-year-old, once they play a game or like something, they want to do it over and over and over again. And that's not always enjoyable. You don't want to play pickup sticks 100 times in 3 days, but I do. And he enjoys it. And I love seeing the joy on his face. Attending school functions. Again, just today, my son had their feast. And a part of that, they have an outdoor classroom, which is really a really neat experience. I didn't realize that this was a parent involvement type of situation. And so just going in today, Melissa asked me, are you available at 9:45? I didn't have any meetings, so I made a point to it. I said, you know what? I'm just not here today. I'm not working today. We went on an hour hike. It was wet. It was rainy, a little chilly. But watching him and experiencing that with him, I'm not going to get that back. He's only in kindergarten once. I know that, again, that's not always, we're going to miss things here and there, but I was able to make it work. So making it work when I can, stepping away, having that flexibility, and of course, you got to have some support for the people above you too. And my organization is very supportive about that. And then just the simplicities in life, and for me, I said about taking breaks, even if it's crazy and it's hectic and chaotic at home because I have a baby and a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. I just want that oasis here and there. So for me, that's cooking. If I can escape for 30 minutes into the kitchen while Melissa's occupying the kids, that's kind of my happy place. I shut off the brain. I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm working with the food. And that's also a way for me to kind of show up for them too. I'm providing at the same time, even though I'm getting a little bit of time for myself to take that mental break. I don't think it's a perfect recipe for any of us in this field, but those are a little bit of the way that I look at kind of staying grounded and being better equipped for when the next situation comes up, whether, again, that's at home or at work. How about you guys?
What's funny about us is we're terribly different in a lot of ways. I think our if you splattered our working genius scores, we cover the gamut. I think the way we think about things, the way we, our personalities. I was talking to my team about how opposites attract, and that's true of culture and personalities and even thought processes, but not of shared values. If you have someone that just 100% believes a different value than you, it's tough to be around them at all times. And I think our values link up or whatever, which is why we've stayed close over the years. But I am shocked at how much we are still very similar. Like a perfect day for me, if I could sketch out a perfect day, I'd sleep in late, I would work out, I would eat something with Hannah, and I would not have talked to anyone until like 1:00. That's when I'm announcing myself to the public. About 1:00, I will talk to people or check an email. And that happens on Saturday sometimes. That doesn't happen, obviously, during the week. But what I've done over the years to combat what I need is, in my social anxiety that I get, is that I don't check a lot of Teams messages or messenger messages or, cell messages, text messages. I check them, as y'all know, at time blocks. I time block in the morning from 8 to 10. Every single day on my calendar, 8 to 10 says it's blocked out for me. And I get up, I work out. I'm checking emails at work or at the house. I can check emails. I can reply to things. If there's an 8:00 meeting, a city manager calls, I obviously go in for it. But if I can get to 10 a.m. and I've woken up, worked out, checked emails, taken a shower, gone into work, and I'm there by 10 o'clock, I'll be there till 8 o'clock at night and I'll be fine. But if I'm at work at 8 a.m. and I didn't get to do some of the other stuff where I got to casually wake up, I got to see Hannah in the morning, I got to work out, I just feel like my whole day has been thrown off. And so I do, like you, Tom, look for things like not checking emails or voicemails or text messages, time blocking sometimes. So the morning it's a pretty slow wake up. It's not the whole world's not hitting me from the very get-go. And I schedule meetings in the afternoons, and I definitely get to those meetings. But I try to find some time, Vanguard some time for me in the morning to do the things I need to show up as my best self. And the city's been very supportive of me working from home or working out or doing whatever I'm doing and checking emails and getting there later and staying there later and just blocking off some time for me to get ready for what it's going to take to be the person that the city needs me to be and the department needs me to be in their role. where you are the traffic cop and you're handling everything from a 5-minute conversation on one side to some citizen complaint on the other side to $1 million CIP question that you're taking to counsel, on the other side. And for me to do that well, I need a little time in the morning. So yeah, my perfect day, I wouldn't talk to anyone before noon or 1 o'clock, but that's just not always the case.
Now, he certainly doesn't talk to us before noon or 1 o'clock.
That's right. That's right.
No, there's typically like texts from Shane and I that don't start till like maybe 12, but I might have a text or text Tom at like 6 a.m.
Yep.
So
Oh
yeah,
man,
there's
y'all
usually
text early.
well, I'm up early.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely like a 4 or 5 hour delay from when
Yep.
Shane responds to something that Tom and I might have already been talking about at 6, 7 a.m. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll see the midnight text come from Shane every once in a while too. So
Mhm.
we're not seeing that until
No.
6 a.m.
That's right.
no, I'm typically in bed and out by 10:30 maybe. So, but I'm up and out of my house, literally outside by 6 a.m. if not earlier. So that's a little change of plans sometimes. Um, there's some things that I would take from both y'all that I would agree with, and there's some other like approaches. I think for me, like one thing that always keeps me grounded is just knowing the impact. We've always talked about impact, our whys. And, regardless of how hectic days get and how busy things get and how chaotic it can be, like that's always at like the forefront of my mind of like trying to balance things is knowing the impact and knowing why we're doing what we're doing. But then I go back to like a previous conversation we had, and it was one of Shane's, intro questions about like the 3 rules. And, prioritizing what matters most to you is kind of one of the ones I mentioned. And that's been something that has shifted my mindset over the years. I used to come home from work and still had my phone in my pocket and was replying to every email like as soon as it came through, and was trying to make sure that I would go to bed with like 0 unread emails in my inbox. And the reality is like that's really not possible.
It's a trap too, because once you convince people that they can get a hold of you at 9 o'clock at night,
yeah,
they won't do it by 5. They'll wait till 9 to send you an email,
They forget you're a person.
Yeah. So I still see emails come through, and obviously if it's a priority, I'll get on it. But other than that, like it's prioritizing my time is what's mattered the most to me over the last year and a half that I've kind of had a little mind shift change on things. And it's life is busy, and there's more to life than just work. And that was not the mindset 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago. And I know we've talked about that several times on here with families and kids activities. And, that's priority right now. And obviously when I'm in the office and when I can focus on work when it's appropriate, 100%, 110% works out my time. But after that, evening time when I'm at Noah's practice or taking Piper to swim lessons right now, or, at a weekend event or that's not work related, like, it's family first. So just being able to balance that and know that it's still there tomorrow. And then it's still going to be there the next day if I don't even get to it tomorrow. So unless it's time sensitive, it's that prioritization that's really important.
No, I can appreciate that, guys. I think that we're going to talk a little bit more about this concept with our guest. So let's segue into that. Our guest is joining us from Ontario, Canada today.
That's a first.
It is. It is. They are currently at the Parks and Recreation Ontario Pro Expedition Education Conference and Trade Show. Our guest has lived in 8 states, has 3 children, all 3 children born in 3 different states. I can give you the states. I'm not sure if that would give it away or not, so we'll skip that for now.
You're saying they get around.
They get around. I mean, clearly 8 states and in Ontario today.
That's right.
Our guest started in recreation at the age of 16 as a ski and snowboard adaptive instructor, and then moved into lifeguarding. Our guest is an Aggie grad.
Oh.
Now, the question for you, Shane, is there any other Aggie other than Texas A&M?
Yeah. I think New Mexico State has one. I think they're the Aggies. Someone's the Aggies. Yeah, there are other Aggies.
So it may be, but that's not the school that I am referencing here. So this is where they did their undergrad as an Aggie. You can think on that as I continue.
Yeah.
Our guests earned their first director position during graduate school, where they attended a university. Let's go into our favorite segment, Shane's mascots. We already talked Aggies. The university mascot was the Sycamore Sam. Sycamore Sam. This is the
That's
mascot. Do you know
Indiana
that?
State. Indiana
Indiana
State.
State, Larry Bird's alma mater. Man, Shane, you are good at this.
Does Utah have an Aggie, maybe? Can't remember.
Okay, okay. Well, as you ponder, our guest served as the director in county parks, campus rec, and municipal recreation over the course of their career. They are currently a Texas resident. Been in Texas for 5 years, the longest time they have spent in any one state in their career. And that is where they plan to retire.
Good for them.
I think these next couple might help you out a little bit. Our guest is the Capra Vice Chair and Commissioner and the co-founder of the Directors Summit.
Oh, is it Bryce?
Yes. No,
Bryce. Chase.
You got
Chase
it. Our
Ellis.
guest is welcome. Chase Ellis, Director of Parks and Recreation for Trophy Club Texas.
Welcome.
Thanks, y'all. And Bryce and I are like one and the same.
That's right. Well, I think of Bryce because of Utah. Is the other Aggies
Yeah.
in Utah?
Yeah, so Utah State Aggies.
I
You
got
got
it.
it.
Took
You
me
did.
some time.
You
Took me
did.
some
You
time.
did. And
Sky.
and Bryce and I were in undergrads together, had children, our first daughters at the same time. So we went to class toting the strollers and the babies and everything during our undergrads. So
Oh wow.
That's wild. Well, Chase, thanks for joining us in general, but especially in a very busy week as you're traveling in another country, in Ontario. How are things up in Ontario?
it is beautiful. Shane knows the heat of Texas.
Oh,
So it's been it's been a welcome change coming up here and being in 30 degrees. Last night walking around this area, we started having flurries. So seeing the snow again was a welcome sight. But it's been a lot of fun and met some pretty amazing professionals up here that do the same as what we're doing in the States and are calling out for support and understanding and so it's been really fun being up here and getting to know our Canadian counterparts.
Speaking of support and your main reason for being in Ontario, you presented 2 sessions on the topic of imposter syndrome, one, and then the second, a concept, Project Me. And that's what I want to talk about, piggybacking or segueing a little bit off of our initial conversation. I had the opportunity to attend your imposter syndrome session in Orlando. Wonderful session. Just great dialogue, open and honest, real talk, as we talked about a little bit yesterday when we were catching up. So you've been leading these sessions and talking to individuals about the challenges and struggles and that it's okay to talk about it. You don't have to bottle it up. And that's becoming, I believe, more and more common. It's certainly a demanded topic. The room that I was in for your session in Orlando was standing room only. Literally, I was standing in the back. I was the guy who showed up late and stood in the back. I think I got picked on at one point or another for standing too. You got a lot of people who want to talk about this. And so tell us about Project Me. Why are you bringing those conversations to conferences that are clearly so needed in this profession right now?
Yeah, I mean a lot of it has kind of been a byproduct of things that we go through as professionals. I've been on every side of it, to leading our staff and being a young, naive director at 25 and trying to build relationships with individuals that are staff that could be my parents, and being able to get their trust and lead them. But then also, there's been points in my career that as directors, we have large targets on our back, and going through being let go from a position and having our life completely wrecked, and then realizing our connections and our network are what, as we felt like we were drowning, we're reaching out and saying, we know the truth, we know who you are, and we have a spot for you. And then allowing you time to kind of cocoon and really find your peace again, and then being able to flourish again. And so I always felt like when I've gone to conferences, a lot of times, which it's very needed, with CEUs, it's very direct of, you got to accomplish these things and a lot of talking at you. we just thought up this idea as I was suffering from it and needed an opportunity to be able to connect with individuals like ourselves of we're not presenting rocket science. We're just saying, look, let's turn to the people next to us and go deeper, not just say, how are you doing? And we're like, oh, I'm good. Like, no, let me know what's really bothering you because I want to get to know you as a person and be able to be a support because I've had people that have reached out and supported me when I've had those struggles. And that's what I was telling a lot of the individuals this week because they're like, "Oh, your session was my favorite session." And I'm like, "I didn't do anything. I just came in and said, this has happened to me and it got really real and my health declined, my mental health declined, and I learned some things because Bryce, for one, was during that time, he was constantly reaching out to me and just checking in, not giving advice or anything, just, hey, buddy, I'm thinking about you. What can I do to help? And that just meant so much. And so that's really, why I'm going around and it's fun seeing it resonate with people that they're being more vulnerable. They're willing to share the hard things because they do need to be talked about. But the people that can help are those around us, but they can't do anything to help if they don't know.
I don't know who's been lucky enough to be on the other side of a Bryce King conversation, but that dude is amazing. He reaches out. He does the things I think we all wish we would do and show up for our friends if we were aware enough to do it. Like he'll just reach out and text and just say, I hope you're having a great day. And that's
Yeah.
it. He's not asking for anything in return. He's not unloading something. He's not coming to you to drop something off and so you give him something back. He's literally just, and they're random and they always seem to be really timely when you're dealing with something. You're like, man, I appreciated him sending that. I love this Project Me concept, and it's interesting, that you get up there and talk about trauma and everyone learns from it, right? That's, you got to reconcile that in some ways. Your name's been floated on here a couple times. One of them, Farrell was talking about how she was doing some executive coaching with you. You had been a director before Trophy Club. Now, I don't know if you'd been in the industry. I know you'd done it in Campus Rec or had been high up in Campus Rec as well. And I would love to get into that concept of working there and then probably stepping down to step back up in some way. But at some point, when you're dealing with this imposter syndrome, something we don't talk about a lot is executive coaching. Was that something you had done before you met Farrell, or is that something you were just like, I want a little extra. I want to fine tune this or fine tune that, or I just need some sort of executive help in some way? Was it self-care of some sort of just trying to get you through some tough times? Because I heard about it, I was very intrigued by it. You don't hear about it a lot. And I think you see it a lot in the private sector. You don't hear about it a lot on our side.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting because I got to know Farrell through Bryce. And the reason for that was, with the development of this director summit, because a good friend, Angela, that's now assistant city manager in Henderson, Angela Summers, her and I went to director school together and we built a bond there and we didn't want to lose that. And so we called each other after our last year. Well, actually the first year and said, hey, we want more of this connection that we did from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Mm.
And how can we do it? And I'm by trade an enabler. Someone shares an idea, I'm like, yeah, let's do it and jump in wholeheartedly. And I ran this idea past Bryce and he's the same. He's like, yeah, I'm going to support this. And we were talking, we're like, how do we create a retreat that we need a facilitator, not to tell us what to do, but to help guide us and structure that? And he goes, I've got this wonderful friend,
Hmm.
and introduced us to Farrell. And so we actually started with us developing the Directors Summit. But then again, we build these relationships, and I knew that she was doing this coaching. And I just approached her and was like, hey, I'm going through a few struggles right now. And she said, yeah, let's jump on a call. And again, just having someone that's not associated with all sides of what's going on, just being a neutral listener. And that's why I tell people, even therapy is so helpful. Just having someone that's not associated to talk to. And it gave me a new perspective of not maybe not new perspective, but another perspective that I didn't think about. And kind of carrying on that, leaving DeSoto, our town manager went to Trophy Club, and I followed him up to Trophy Club. And I had mentioned this because I believe City of Henderson has executive coaches that work with their department heads. And I was like, it'd be really cool. So town manager had a connection that he's an executive coach, and we do quarterly. He comes in, we'll meet as a group with the directors, but then also individually with the directors to just sit down and be like, hey, let's hear how you're doing, throw those things at me and work through. And it's been very beneficial, whether you want to call it therapy. To me, that's what it is. Therapy is not, a cuss word. It is something there that is a tool.
It's not a weakness.
And it's not. And
Right.
honestly, it's a strength being able to say, I need some help and I want to talk to someone about it.
Well, I want to go in a little bit different direction because you mentioned Angela's name and you mentioned director of school. And
Yeah.
we've had a lot of conversations on different episodes about the schools, the NRPA schools and other schools that are available and the bonds that are created there. And I actually joined you guys probably about 6, maybe 7 months ago on a little webinar. I know you guys get together, I think every month. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, so it's Lucas out in California in Redwood City. He kind of mainly helps facilitate that. And yeah, I think every group that comes through director school kind of starts with these groups and meet monthly. And so those are still continuing.
Yeah, that's
Um,
where I wanted to go with that is what has that meant to you and to others that you came together at a specific, structured activity and years later you are finding time as a large group and sometimes you might have 5, sometimes you might have 15 or maybe you have 25 one month to come together, share topics, just check on each other too there and it's probably become a sounding board, become an opportunity for you guys to share resources, but it's consistency amongst a group of folks that came together that didn't know anybody and now look at where you are today.
yeah. And I think that's important is realizing these connections that we make in our state associations. I talk about the outer circle, inner circle, and then your core. And you think about it association wise, like all of these connections are super important, but we've also got to reach out and connect with them to continue to build those relationships. And so it is very beneficial if we schedule our time, just like you all were talking earlier, to make time for it. Even if, someone doesn't have a whole lot to say, it's, hey, it's really good to see you. You showed up here. Sometimes the topics go completely different than what we were going to talk about. Well, what we thought we were going to talk about.
Right.
So Chase, are these separate from, I assume they're separate from the Directors Summit. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, this is separate from the Directors Summit. The the first year of Directors Summit, it started that way that we wanted the graduates to be able to, come there, but then we started inviting some other friends. And then the second year, we just saw that so many directors, even if they hadn't been part of director school, were just grasping for an opportunity to connect with others in a non-structured way. Like we have structure to it, but not necessarily at a conference where there's thousands of people demanding your attention. And so after that first year, we took away the stipulation, if you want to call it, that you had to be an NRPA grad and just opened it up. And the past 2 years, we've like last year, we had 62 directors from 28 states represented. And a quarter of those directors don't even go to our national conference. They have a very limited budget, and we have some amazing partners that show up for us. And so we're like, you just got to get here. You pay the $100 for the swag that we give you, and you show up, and we have 2.5 days to help rejuvenate and bond together. And then it's just, created this network. So it started kind of that way, but then like everything, it morphs into, something different. And our friends in Georgetown came this last spring, and they said a comment, they put their arms around us, Robert, and was like, how cool is it going to be in 20 years to see how many people you've been able to affect? And that never even crossed our mind. And we've been like, well, maybe it'll go 2 years, maybe it'll go 20 years. We don't know. But right now, people are showing up and demanding it. I mean, it sold out in 2.5 weeks in April when we opened it. So it's been a fun ride. And selfishly, I also do it for me, because I need this group
Yeah.
to be able to recharge.
Yeah.
I'm a feelings guy. I got to be in a room that I can talk about my feelings, your feelings, so that we can just make that bond even stronger.
I'm glad you said that, the selfishness piece, because, when I was thinking about my response to what I do to take care of myself, that's a big part of it. And I didn't even mention that before. When we go to the national conference or to, it doesn't matter, a state conference, some kind of a training, that's a big, I mean, that's a huge impact on me for recharging the battery after some really difficult times potentially, or stressful or chaotic times. And you go there, you make the connections. Yeah, sometimes by the end of it, I have some fatigue from just the sheer amount of obligation.
Yeah,
But I
Shane
go
fatigue.
back, shame fatigue. Yes, that's what we call that. Everybody gets that. But either way, it's a huge part of that for me and taking care of myself. And just to have the opportunity, and I don't know that everybody does have that opportunity. They may not be getting to go to these types of conferences. So my question, and I really am thankful that you kind of clarified how the Director Summit really originated. For the individuals out there, you mentioned there were 62 last year. You had a registration for, I assume, 26 open in April, and it sold out. And so I guess my question is, what does a typical Director Summit look like? Let's make some people jealous. I know it's that we're not all able to be there if there is limitations to how many people you can have, but I would assume that if people are going to hear about this and it's going to blow their mind and they didn't know it existed, it may not be a good, if we have more than 5 listeners, we're not so sure about that. If we do, though, there might be some individuals who reach out about this event. So I want you to just kind of take us inside Director Summit. I've never been. I don't believe Shane and Jay have. So we want to know what that's like and what's coming next for Director Summit.
Had staff
Yeah.
attend. It's in a great spot in Texas too.
Yeah, this is actually going to be the last year in Texas,
Look at that.
for a couple of years, because we want to rotate it around. Like the first year we were in Texas and did it right on the shoulder of Traps, because we did it at a free event. And I literally just, reached out to partners that we were working with, and they did lunch, dinner, things like that. And then the next year, we went out to Virginia, and we were in one of the county parks out there, and it was so fun because we had these cabins that were right there. We limited it to 60 because we wanted to be very intentional. When you get in a room that's more than 60, it gets very hard to be able to really make meaningful connections. And so we do this over 2.5 days. So this year it's in Graham, Texas again. We've rented out the Wildcatter Ranch. Sorry, I got that conference voice.
Mm-hmm.
So we rented out the entire ranch. And what we do is they show up Sunday night. One of my big things is I like to serve. And Tom, you kind of mentioned this about love of cooking. And I feel like my way of and this comes from growing up and going to my grandma's house, that we'd sit down at the table, have a family dinner together. And so whether it's breakfast or like last year, we did a barbecue as they come in. So as everybody comes into this ranch that is out in the middle of nowhere, they're driving up this road wondering if they're going to the right spot. And they show up to this house and just this big long table, and I'm out on the grill cooking for them, and we're starting to do connections with names, who knows who. We had a bonfire that we sat around and overlooking the river, and just talked and chatted and got to know each other. And we had previously, before the start of that, had a web call with the attendees and surveyed them, like, give us your top 10 issues that are really plaguing you right now and that you would like to talk about. Then with all of those, we had a lot of commonality. And so like the top 5 issues were what we kind of start with as we go throughout the 2.5 days. And there's unstructured roundtable. We do prompts. Farrell is really good about working the room and seeing where conversations are going and being able to pivot if we need to. But then also having a space that if a director is having a really hard issue they're dealing with, that we have a space that we can do a sidebar conversation. And it's not going to interrupt. Like, that's what this program is. We have some amazing partners that sponsor it. And so, like, literally, they show up. The food is all covered, everything. We just want you to show up with yourself and stripping away, all the ego. And so we spend 2.5 days, and well into the night. I think last year there was one evening that Angela was like, we are staying here until the sun comes up, because we were having a very deep discussion at 3:30 in the morning about leadership styles and the differences that other organizations have and other people have in leading. And it just carried on through the night. And yeah, that's the essence of it. Is, we keep it to 60 directors, and we have an influx of, some that repeat, but we're moving it around the country. Next year, I won't announce yet, but it is going to be.
Oh, come on. You can do it here.
It's going to be in a very amazing spot. And when I say it, I know we're going to get a lot of emails and say, hey, I want on the wait list. But every year it's just gotten better and better with the content, with, what we're trying to achieve with it. And we've intentionally kept it away from being driven through an association, just so that it can be organic. It can be driven by the participants. And like I said, this is a passion project, so we don't make anything off of it. Our goal is, if we can just make enough to do the deposit on the facility for the next year, then we're great.
I was about to
Jay's
say,
3 a.m. Jay's out already. Do you have like a Cliff Notes version for the early
Tom too,
risers?
not just me.
I was that 3 a.m. There was only 8 of us left around that kitchen table.
Jay may be waking up around that time, catching up the conversation.
You're going to catch him running, doing a little run at 3. I just want to have one quick follow-up question. What time of year is it typically?
Yeah, so we really try and look where it's situated. We've been doing it more kind of that January, February timeframe. Like this year, we moved it because we knew we were going to be back in Texas, and we did do it the first week of February. But our state association had moved up their conference to the second week of February, and so we're like, we got to move ours just up another week, so there's at least a week we can go back to work. And so it is the 24th through the 26th of January that it currently is, but it'll kind of rotate. We look at the states closest to where we're going to host it and see when their state associations are. But like I said, it's grown that we have people from all over the country that fly in for it.
Great. That's great. If anybody wants to crash, that's why I asked Chase when the dates were. He already told you the location. In all seriousness, if I ever had the opportunity, that sounds amazing to cook and serve the individuals there. So you got a grill master, a partner, to hit the Blackstone with you, whatever it is.
I love it. I love it. Let's do it.
I just pulled up your LinkedIn profile because I like looking at like progression of things. And I actually wanted to pick your brain. And, you talked about Utah State, you talked about being with the campus
Yeah.
rec. And looks like you were there for a little over 4 years. And I'm curious, we don't talk a lot about campus rec. We've had, I think, just one individual that's been on and as a previous guest to focus on that topic. What were some of the highlights during that? And is there things that you took away in that job that you use in your current role or even, roles that you've had after that position?
Starting out, and we kind of talked about moving up. My career path was one that I never thought would take, that I went straight into director roles, and that in itself had challenges of not being able to work up through, the levels that we have. And I feel like municipal recreation has the best structure to help elevate and develop professionals in our field. I think everybody has the feeling of being asked to come back to their alma mater. Because I worked in campus rec when I was an undergrad, and then they were building this new facility, and I got invited to come back to the alma mater. Truthfully, my wife wasn't thrilled going back to Logan from where we were in South Dakota. We were in a great community there in Brookings. But going into campus rec and being able to really work with the students, I was also teaching in the Parks and Rec major as well, and really getting these students and developing them with the skills that they needed, because there's jobs in campus rec, but if you really want to get into rec, we know that they've got to go into municipal parks and rec. And so having that knowledge coming from municipal into the university was beneficial, because I could help kind of show the students what they needed to be successful, to get jobs in our majors. I think one of the big things of being in NERSA was I was also just thrown into a new network. You have the NERSA Association, that now I was a younger director coming in and trying to build new relationships with campus rec directors, and did that for 4 years. And then when I was let go from Utah State and came back to municipal parks and rec, a lot of those connections that I had started making early in my career had kind of moved on and moved up. And so being able to almost create a new network, and there's so many similarities of what individuals that work in campus rec can translate into our recreation side. But I think what was most beneficial with that is I've had 4 individuals that have reached out to me saying, hey, I'm trying to get into municipal rec. I've worked in campus rec for 4 or 5 years and was an associate or an assistant director of intramurals. And we really got talking about titles. And they're like, we're just not getting interviews, because they were applying for those assistant director type jobs. And, being able to be real with them and say, I almost did my staff a disservice by raising these titles, because an assistant director of intramurals in campus rec is what our coordinators do in municipal. And so having those real conversations of, well, why don't you look like 1 or 2 titles down and apply for those jobs? And out of all 4 of those individuals, I mean, I can't tell you, it was within like a month that they're like, hey, I got a job and I'm loving this. And you were right, like readjusting that view. But they got snatched up really quick because of those skills that they developed in campus rec. And so we're all doing the same thing. And I think even in our field, sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, campus rec is its own silo. It's different than Parks and Rec. We even sometimes do it with our state parks, but our values, like Shane had mentioned early on, is our values are all the same. And we're going for those goals. So that's what I took from municipal and learning from campus rec back to municipal.
So Chase mentioned NERSA for Esther and Becca. That's the National Intramural Rec Sports Association. That's the campus rec community. And NERSA had such a huge impact on me. You know, when I
Yeah.
realized I wasn't coaching and I was a GA at Western Illinois. First of all, I think NERSA does student development really well. Like you have those
Yes.
lead ons,
Yes.
you have these regional meetings, you have a lot of opportunities to serve as an undergrad and as a grad assistant. You don't see those same opportunities in an RPA. You know, that's kind of what the Young Professional Network had to fight for. But I built kind of the whole thought process of the YPN when I was working on it within RPA based off my experiences with NERSA. You know, as far as representation, you know, Tom, you can think of the career center that NERSA has this incredible because they hire on this cycle. Everyone, all the schools hire on this cycle. And so everyone at the national conference is looking for another internship or a potential
Yeah.
full-time job or a GA. And so you have this incredible career center where you're putting your name into different boxes, Nebraska, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, and they're seeing your application and maybe scheduling an interview and you're interviewing on spot. We tried to replicate that to no real success in RP, partly because no one's hiring on site there like you do. You could get offered a job. I remember one year, NERSA, I was actively looking for a job, and that's all I did that whole time was trying to get interviews and getting
Yeah.
interviews and hoping to get an offer. And so that's a stressful time for sure. But to take a student to lunch was something we stole from NERSA. But what I think I learned most, and I love that you said that as far as how they equate and that the
Yeah.
assistant director of one isn't really the assistant director of other. The pay is also not like that, right? You know, like
Mhm.
there is, you know, NERSA isn't paying all that well, but you're the AD of intramurals, but you're making 50, 60, 70 grand. But that's because you're really just a rec manager of some degree, you know, in our side. But I learned how important, first of all, you very quickly get used to working a wide range of hours. It's not you learn pretty quickly at NERSA that recreation's not 9 to 5. In fact, you learn it's quite the opposite. Most of the things you're putting on is till midnight or 1 a.m. Most of my programs and events, I wasn't getting home till 1 o'clock in the morning. Probably started off a bad habit for me that I've not been able to kick even years later. But two, you learn how important volume is. When
Yep.
I got into city municipal government, I was cranking out so many programs and events at NERSA, and I brought that mindset over, and it was so stark to what my other colleagues that had not grown up in campus rec and had only grown up in municipal rec. And how's he prolific's probably not the right word, but how's he throwing together so many programs and events? And it's because you learn pretty quickly, for me, the importance of volume and how volume will negate a lot of imposter syndrome because it could take you 3 events, 4 events, 5 events to feel comfortable doing something, but those 5 events are spread out 1 month or they're the third Saturday of each month. And I've done those same 3, 5 events in a month. So what takes you maybe 5 months to get comfortable doing, I've already done in a month. And so that volume of just putting together so many programs and events was huge, you know, for me and my time and my transition over. And I see a lot of people transition from campus rec and seem to hit the ground running really well and to great success in that. But you do have to adopt this mindset that you're not an assistant director or a director of campus rec. You're now a rec manager. And you had to do that as well. You had to step into that whole step down to step up. What was that like for you, for your family, for your friends when you made the announcement? You know, what was that whole thought process?
When I left Utah State,
Well, just anytime you've had to, yeah, you've taken a role, but it's maybe not the director role, or you've taken an assistant director role, you know, that whole thought of, you know, some people don't understand. Well, weren't you a director here? Now you're a rec manager here, a rec superintendent
yeah,
here. Isn't that a step down? You know, and sometimes young professionals struggle with that as well.
yeah, I think a lot of times, like, you know, I'll say when I came to Texas, COVID had happened and I was consulting with an organization out in North Carolina and knew I needed to get back to municipal rec. And I was interviewing in Florida and Texas. And I was fortunate enough that I had received a job offer for the director position in Ocala, Florida. And within an hour, I was offered the assistant director position for the city of DeSoto. And a lot of it, the titles have never been a thing that has driven my decision. My decision was what's the community that I can make the most impact on, but then also knowing from senior leadership who I can see myself being able to flourish under. And my current town manager, Brandon Wright, was a big part of that. That, in our interview that I had with him, he was very real with me. And we had some open heart questions that I don't know if he intentionally wanted to ask me this to get on a deeper level, but I was like, I'm not going to hide and I'm going to just share my true feelings. And the way that he responded to that just really stuck with me when I was being vulnerable at that time. And so it was a very easy choice when he moved from DeSoto to Trophy Club to follow him because I'm like, this is a town manager, city manager that I love his style and I can flourish and do a lot more for the community under him. And so I tell people it's not about the titles, yes, we need to make a living and take care of our families, but you need to find that connection because my model's always been works to be enjoyed, not endured. And if you're just going to work and enduring it every day, it's going to tear you down. Your health is going to decline. And so find that area that you can really enjoy what you're doing and have that support. And it may not be a director position. You may not ever want to be a director, and that's okay. If you want to be programming and be on the front lines, like then embrace that and find those people that can help you flourish in that. And so that's been my big thing.
I hope people really hear that. I know young professionals in particular, and we've all been there, title hunt. We all want to be that director at some point, and we're pursuing it. And you talk to some young professionals at a point in their career that's all they're thinking of. And then when you break that seal, we've all been directors on this call, and it's not all that it's cracked up to be at times. And you get to a spot and you look up, you're like, man, I worked really hard to get here, but it's not what I necessarily thought. This isn't the summit I thought it would be. And so I love that fact that the title isn't the only basis for the decision. I think that should be something that we're talking to people more and more about.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm glad we talked about that. Your story, and you talked a little bit about how you were in North Carolina and you kind of jumped out of the profession for a little bit, and 8 different states, and it's quite the journey. And with a journey like that, most likely comes hard times, perseverance, resiliency, and I believe in a lot of those concepts are going to be applicable to so many people out there, something that they can learn from other people's stories, as we've talked about. And I'd love you to share as kind of we're going to go into a rapid fire after this question, but as kind of our wrap up to our main portion, I'd love you to share your experience, which I believe is incredibly unique with Utah State. And so you talked about Utah State, not necessarily the job, not necessarily the campus rec, but you shared how that situation was really went down for you in the different circumstances, incredibly unique circumstances that you worked under. If you could share a little bit of that for our listeners, tell us that story, how that shaped you and how it allowed you to really persevere and move forward. I'd really love for everybody to hear that because it's fascinating.
Yeah, there's times in our career, and a lot of what mine was being naive and not asking those questions, just assuming that what we've been doing was, even before I got there, was the right thing. And then finding yourself in a room that's saying you're being placed on an administrative leave, and me questioning, like, what I've, like, here is everything I've done, like, and then no way to really defend yourself. And then you get all of a sudden locked out from all these other directors that, a week before I got put on admin leave, I had my performance evaluation. It was a glowing review and had a 10% increase. And then there's things that I didn't necessarily understand or know about that were going on in the background, that I found myself in that position. And having conversations a month before that, you should really look at getting your doctorate and becoming a vice president, and all these things that people are saying to me. And then all of a sudden now I get put on admin leave, and a week later get pulled in, and I remember the individual that let me go. He goes, "I want you to know I care about you and your family, but you have got to go." And that stuck with me. I was like, you do not care about me as an individual. You don't care to be curious and ask those questions. And it hurt. I will always say the worst diet plan you can always go on is losing a job and losing weight because of stress. But then I had friends that reached out and said, no, this happens all the time in university settings, that I was naive about. I didn't know. And this individual that helped me had been let go from a university as well, and said, no, it's not you. Like, it's them. And part of it is my responsibility of not asking questions. And so I own that. But being able to go out and really have a cocoon period of kind of resetting and reevaluating what I want, and that really structured the current growth that I'm in, is that I'm not going to be afraid to talk about the hard things. I'm not going to be afraid of asking the questions that I don't know or that don't feel right. There's sometimes that I'll call my town manager and just say, "Hey, I don't know if this is a big deal, but I need to say something because it just doesn't feel right," whether you're working with a citizen or a council member or something, but not being afraid to speak up and say what's in your gut. And so that really shaped me. But then also realizing that there's a lot of people out there that once I share that, I've been let go, there's a lot of people that have been in that same situation, but they've been afraid to share it because there is, just like mental health and therapy, things like that, people look down on. And I really hope to change that narrative. And so not being afraid to talk about the hard things, even if it's, I got let go and it completely changed my family, but it also made us stronger as a family. But I don't wish that ever on anyone.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I know that's a very difficult time that you had experienced, and you had shared a term with me yesterday when talking about that too, and that term is empathy, and you had just kind of talked about that. And I'm not saying that someone can't be empathetic without going through something, but the best way to be empathetic is to have experienced what someone else is going through, and to be able to share that with someone and talk through it with another individual is invaluable. So thank you for sharing your story. There's so much that we can get into. We are running a little bit out of time here, so we're going to shift into rapid fire, some quick hitter questions to maybe get to know Chase a little bit more. It could be professional, personal related, and I'll kick it off. I was perusing social media. Your story popped up last night at some point while I was winding down, and it looked like you were at a rave, Chase. I read the caption, you were having a blast. The caption mentioned something about a version of bingo, but it was not the bingo that I think you and all of us associate with.
Is it Canadian bingo?
No, this actually started in the States. It's called Bingo Loco, and it is a rave party
No,
with
thank you.
3 games of bingo that go 3 hours long. And that was the opening social for the conference.
So it was three different games, 3 hours total?
3 hours total of music, games, and mayhem.
That's a horror show right there. Is what that is. That's a nightmare.
How does the game last that long?
Well, you're having dance offs,
Okay.
I mean, it's not just, and there's confetti cannons, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So last episode, Shane asked us and poorly answered his own question, but Shane asked us what vacation
I thought I
that
nailed it.
we would pick for the other individual. Shane, I'm gonna add that to the list of my vacation for you and I and Jay and whoever joins us in England. We're going to do some of this rave bingo.
Loco.
Bingo loco.
Yep.
My soul floated up when you said dance off and confetti cannon. Ugh.
So Disney or bingo loco, Shane? What do
I'd do Disney all day after what I just heard about.
But you have to wear the ears nonstop.
Fine. That's fine. I think
He's
I
already
would do
done it.
Yeah.
Chase, while you're up in Canada, are you visiting any other areas or any other tourist destinations?
I drove up the bay the other day just to check out some beaches and parks, and I like visiting the community parks. But
Yeah.
actually, after I get off with you all, I'm heading to the airport to get back to Texas. So
Okay. What airport are you flying out of?
out of Toronto International.
Okay.
So I'm about an hour and a half north of Toronto.
Jay loves him some Toronto.
I do. I love
Um,
Toronto. I try to go visit every couple of years when I'm back home. So it's a beautiful city.
Chase
Love it.
is in another country, but he is much closer to me than I am to any of you right now. We're about maybe
Yeah.
three hours, 4 hours away.
It's
That's
crazy.
very true.
He's closer to you than I am to him in Dallas, probably almost. We're in the same state. Speaking of states, you've lived in some areas that I would consider very beautiful parts of the country, although I think they're a little bit more desolate or less, like Brookings, South Dakota, Logan, Utah.
Yep.
Those are some beautiful type places, but they're not super touristy, I guess, in some ways. They're not the top places that people go to. Do you miss because you're not in that now. Trophy Club is for those that don't know, it's a very affluent, very suburban spot and right in the middle of DFW, which is as big and dense as populated. They'll show a DFW map, and it's like the state of, I think Connecticut can fit within basically areas of the DFW map, and it's way more dense, and the DFW airport's more population than like half the country or whatever. They have all these DFW stats. I lived in Dallas Fort Worth for a long time, and it is not pristine, desolate, picturesque, kind of remote places of the world. So do you miss part of that back in the day, or do you like being around a really diverse and thriving community, I guess?
Oh, definitely. We miss the mountains. My kids miss them, but DFW is so easy to get back to Utah to go skiing, or, there's so many nonstop flights. And I joke that we're the same hours from Cancun as we are from Salt Lake International.
Hmm.
And so it's just being centrally located. It's been a wonderful experience. So
Were you disappointed that Salt Lake got pulled?
I was, because that's the year we're going to go up for accreditation.
Mm,
And I really wanted to take my team out there, but it'll be easier because we'll be
Houston.
in Houston.
Yeah.
Let's go one more round, and I want to keep on with the states. Out of the 8 states that you've lived in,
Best barbecue. No.
yeah, well, no, I am going with food. You obviously like to serve and cook. You can say Texas, but if you do say Texas, I want a second. So I just want to know what's out of those 8 best food state. Maybe again, and maybe give us a little reasoning of why.
I mean, food state wise, definitely Texas. I mean, you just can't. I had barbecue up here the other day, and I was like, this ain't barbecue. And there might have been said that we're giving out something you can barbecue, and they had an air fryer. And I'm like, no, you got to come to Texas. Next would be North Carolina. For
Look at
sure.
that. Man, he's really
I like
playing
it.
to
I
the
like it.
guests right now.
I know. Next answer,
You
he's going
too.
to say something about New York or something about Rochester.
No, we lived in Winston-Salem,
Okay.
and we absolutely loved it.
Nice. Now, when you're not working on the weekends, and we're not going to focus on food here, what's a typical like perfect day for Chase on a Saturday?
I'm kind of like Shane, wake up when my body wakes up, get some time with the kids, and Corey, like I've got a 17, 15, and 13-year-old, and they're busy. And so if we have a weekend that it's just us, even if it's going to brunch, we'll go pick a spot somewhere around Dallas or Fort Worth. We'll get brunch and then we just go walk around and we talk about life and check out different parts of the city. Sometimes we'll go out, to the trails. We don't go hiking. My kids are like, we're just walking in Texas. So we'll go nature walking, but really just being with them because we spend so much time at work during the week. I'm just really enjoying them, and I know the time is short that we're gonna have every day with them.
From your speaking, you seem like you travel some, and then you've obviously moved around a lot, and it sounds like you've got some family still back in Utah or potentially spread across the country. What is a travel destination that people don't realize is pretty underrated that you love?
Oh, travel destination. I would say I lived in Northern California for a while, and all that area from Sea Ranch, that's just outside of Santa Rosa, the Oregon coast up to Eureka. There's some amazing spots out there, and glass beaches and just people. But they're far away from international
Yeah.
airports, and so you're really only going there if you road trip. But then also South Dakota, like the western side, the Black Hills are just amazing, and South Dakota has some of the best people in the world. Super nice, and we loved it there, and we really loved exploring. But not only like the Mount Rushmore, but getting out to like Spearfish and some of those areas that are more on the outskirts are some of my favorite.
I've driven the Oregon coastline as a kid. We took a trip down from Portland all the way down to Disneyland and back and did the Highway 101 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that I remember as a kid thinking at times when I was awake, in the RV, that was beautiful. But I'm watching a History Channel documentary and it talks about how America was settled in the West. And it shows those sections, the Badlands, the Dakotas,
Yeah.
that area up there, that what they call the Great Plains. And every time they do an aerial, of that land in any capacity, it's so rugged and beautiful. And it's still to this day lightly populated, right? There's not a
Yeah.
lot of roads and there's not a lot of population. It just seems like an amazing place to visit. I've got to get up to the Dakotas at some point.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, Chase, this was a really great conversation. We do not want to make you late
Yeah,
for your trip back
we can't
into
afford
the States.
we can't afford to buy him a flight.
Yeah, we want to
Yeah,
make
no,
sure you get
very
back
good.
over. I just want to thank you for your time. And also, I know that I believe Shane and Jay know this. We will get to see Chase very soon in person,
Yeah.
hang out with him in Wisconsin.
Oh, you're
At the Wis-
presenting.
Yep,
That's
I'm
awesome.
I'm excited. So a couple of months we'll see each other in person.
Yeah, I don't know about the 3 a.m. chat nights. Maybe you and Shane will make it.
Maybe, yeah, we'll do that.
But I look forward to some conversations, grabbing some food potentially, and experiencing that with you as well.
No Casino
Awesome.
Loco, though. Please, let's commit
Okay, we'll keep it down. So
now.
All
Fly
right,
safe.
Chase.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Safe travels.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you soon.
We'll see you in a few
thank
months.
you all.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
man.
Bye bye.
See ya.
That was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah, I like how, it used to not be vogue to be sensitive, to be in tune to your feelings, to be able
100%.
to, and he carries that with a badge of honor, even through our conversations here. I think it's okay to say you don't know every answer as a leader, and I don't know if we grew up with that. I don't know if that was the model that we grew up with, but it's definitely the model you feel now that, and he and Bryce and Farrell and others are leading the charge in, hey, it's okay to not be dedicated to this job 24/7. It's okay to not know the answers. It's okay to be personally to feel a certain way, to be sensitive a certain way to how a program or a person made you feel or interacted with. And I love that. I think we're better for it.
Yeah, vulnerability. To your point, Shane, I don't believe that I've been comfortable with that all the time. And maybe there are safe places like our YPN fam. I
Yeah.
think that's very similar to what Chase was talking about with
Yeah.
the groups that he's formed such great bonds with the Director School and Director Summit. But he told me a really great story about the imposter syndrome. He had the session that he did in Orlando, so the national session. He and his wife were having a conversation about the session. And his wife, Corey, said, you realize that you're going to be giving that session in a room that's going to be 95% female and 5% male or something like that, right? It's going to be because for whatever reason, maybe
Guys
that's
don't want
what
to
the thought was.
admit or whatever.
Correct, whatever. And we talked about it, and he said he was so happy to go home and tell his wife that room was 50-50.
Yeah.
And I could attest to that. I was in the room. I heard stories from both sides of the aisle, and it's great. It's great to see individuals feel comfortable in those spaces. And like Chase said, you don't necessarily even have to talk just to be able to hear other people in their stories.
I think we get better in proportion to the amount of hard conversations we have or experience, even if you're just sitting in the room and hearing it. And yeah, I think that's cool.
What I think we've evolved is there's a need to have those conversations more, or at least listen to those conversations from staff. And the more staff that are needing to speak up and share things like that, we've had to become more adapt to listen, whether we're sharing anything or not. It might just be the other side of it, just listening to it.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff, guys. I am excited for what comes next. We got 7 more until 100. And again, it's been a wild ride, another great episode. And we look forward to seeing everybody next time on RecLess. See you guys.
See ya.
See you.
This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.